Hi, Kate here, and welcome back to our video series, Learning to Learn at Home. Today it's video number 6, and we're going to talk about the how of learning. Now, learning happens inside our heads. It's not something that we can see happening. And so all of these processes that are invisible remain mysterious. Sometimes learning just clicks, sometimes learning doesn't. Other people seem to find it more easy than me, or other people seem to struggle. There's lots of questions around how learning happens. And actually, we can begin to look at these individual processes that we use. We can take the mystery out of learning. It's not something random that sometimes works well and sometimes goes horribly wrong. It's something that we can be really deliberate about once we understand what we need to do in order to be effective at learning. And making learning something that's tangible, that has distinct and separate steps that we can take and different tools that we can apply to different situations means that it's something learnable. We can learn how to learn more effectively. So those things that we've given up on a long time ago thinking they just weren't for us, we can use our new tools and reapply them again to see if we can learn more effectively now that we know how to learn well. The best way to do this is to simply shine a light on the processes of learning, okay, to talk about all of the little steps that are happening. And we can do this on 4 different levels. We can start to have conversations around how we think of ourselves as learners. Our mindset and whether or not we believe we can learn is incredibly important to this process. So, how do you think of yourself as a learner? Do you ever find yourself thinking, well, I'll never be able to do that? Or, I know if I try hard and I really concentrate, I will be able to commit this to memory. Or do you know that you have specific things that you find easier to learn than others? Beginning to recognize how you think of yourself as a learner leads us to being able to see how we feel about ourselves as a learner. Do we enjoy learning? Do we enjoy the struggle of learning? Or do we shy away from the struggle of learning? How does it feel when we're successful after we've tried really hard for a long time? How does it make us feel when we fail and we don't seem to be able to learn something successfully? All of these things teach us about who we are and how we prefer to learn. And they lead us to the behaviors that we have around learning. Are we the kind of person who will doggedly stick at something until we get to the end? Are we the kind of person who meticulously plans what they need to learn and collects all their resources before they even start? Are we the kind of person who just tries things randomly to see what happens? Are we impulsive as learners? All of these behaviors that we have, once we start recognizing them and noticing them and naming them, help us to form a picture of who we are as a learner. So instead of just asking, what did you learn today? We're also using follow-up questions. How did you learn it? Did you learn it from a book? Did you figure it out by yourself? Did you ask somebody? Were there pieces of the puzzle there before and you've suddenly found the last piece of the puzzle and it clicked into place? What were you doing while you were learning? Were you taking notes? So really focusing on the nuts and bolts of what we are doing, what we are thinking, how we are feeling when learning is happening. And that makes it visible. So those invisible processes that were going on under the surface are suddenly visible. They're not mysterious anymore. They don't have to be frightening anymore. They're just things that we can practice. If you recognize that in the process of learning, you always get to a similar point, and that's when you give up, you can start to look at particular strategies that are either going to help you to avoid that point or to get over it when you get there. Just becoming much more aware of who we are as learners is how we can become more effective. So that's basically metacognition. That's the how of learning. That's really thinking about how we think, talking about how we learn and making it something that's much more process orientated than outcome orientated. It stops it from being hit and miss and makes it something that we can deliberately do in order to learn whatever it is that we want to learn. And when we start applying these processes to things that we want to learn, it's easier to see them in action. And once we get a handle on it, Then we feel confident to apply them to things that maybe we're not so sure we're going to be good at learning, or maybe we're not so keen to attack. So there are, again, as always, resources that you can download from the link below this video. We would love to hear from you about how you're getting on. Share with us the conversations that you're having about learning. And obviously, if you have any questions that you want to ask, please don't hold back. So that's it from today on the how of learning. We look forward to hearing from you, and I'll speak to you again soon. Take care.